Welcome back to Dirt Nap Ballistics. Today we're going to be loading up 4 5-round groups of different powder charges after our last powder charge test. So we saw that there was still some upside on pressure that we could still achieve, and so we're going to try to see where we finally hit pressure here. So we're going to start at 67.5, which was the last verified safe load that we have, work up to 67.7, 68, and 68.2. Hopefully we will be safe at all these rounds, but if we see pressure, we'll back off. And then we will load at the safest and most consistent powder charge that we see amongst these 4 groups. After doing this, we should only really have one final test, which is taking the cartridge base to O-drive measurement and slowly backing down about 3 thousandths and seeing if it still shoots well at that cartridge base to O-drive. But we first need to knock out this powder charge test, and so we have to load these up following the same process. We're going to follow the same process as before. We did make some slight tweaks to the tumbling process, so we did the initial tumble with some additional cleaning stuff inside of the wet tumble. Did that for about an hour and a half, drained it out, and repeated that process. Overall, it yielded pretty good success. Definitely noticing a lot cleaner of primer pockets this time compared to last time. And the water was just as dirty the second time, so it was good to refresh that water, get the dirty stuff out so that we could continue cleaning. But now that we've got that done, I did notice in our first video where I was sizing, I had the cartridge base, or sorry, the headspace measurement at 1.895. These cases are measured there, but once I sized it, the case actually grew in length. I was still trying to back into what caused the rounds not to feed properly, and I think it might have been that head spacing. So we're gonna go back to the start here and really make sure that we are bumping that shoulder back to thou and messing with the full length sizing guide that we have here. So we're gonna walk through that process, making sure that we're bumping back the shoulders and that the case is not growing, which might cause some seating issues, which we were seeing before. So we're gonna get to going to that and move forward with the process. Okay, so I definitely did this wrong last time. Last time I ran it, the shell holder up to the die and then actually backed it out, which was the incorrect thing to do. So we need to run this all the way up. I have the, move it this way a little bit. So I have the, the lock ring set to where it can still spin. It's a little tight, but not too tight. So we're going to back this in, touch the plate, screw it down. All right, so we're contacting the shell holder right there. So we're going to bring that down. So have this zeroed. .895, which is the same from the last batch. And so we're gonna spray this up, making sure to get a lot on it since last time it was a little bit harder than I thought it would be. So we're gonna size this up. And we'll see what matter. So yeah, so that grew the case by 1.5 thou. So we're going to need to screw this in a little bit more. Okay, we actually finally have 1/2 thou of bump. Okay. Too much bump. too much bump on that one. We will check the chart to see if this is still good to the right load. Otherwise, we'll toss it. Let's load up a fresh guy. 1895. Yeah. Same measurement. Okay, so we got new brass in there. Run it up. Run it back down. .1896. So we're gonna need to come down a little bit. So we have the 24 over the gap in the shell holder, or in the lock ring, I should say. So that got us a half thou. So we'll make a small turn. .1893. So we're going to lock this right here, get size of the brass. Okay, so a couple takeaways. One, I started lubing up the cases a lot more after last time. It felt pretty hard running the ram up and running it back down. That definitely made an improvement, so definitely was under lubing the cases last time. Secondly, you can see they're zeroed on 1895, and if we go across the board, we should see roughly a 2 thou shoulder bump across the board. So definitely was something that could have contributed to our what the heck? Well, I stopped checking, so well, now I got to go back through each one and try to check it. Dang. All right, well, back to the drawing board. Okay, so not exactly sure what was causing some inconsistencies, but there was 10 rounds after the initial sizing that had either grown or not bumped back 2 thou. Not sure if it was the way I was lubing cases or what, but we just ran through all cases and confirmed 2 thou shoulder bump. So with that, we will chamfer, deburr, check overall length, see if we need to trim, and then move on to priming and powder charges. Okay, so we know that we have these headspace correctly. We've got these chamfered, deburred, primer pockets cleaned up. We are going to throw some primers in here, and then we will load up our 5-round groups. Again, we're going 65 or 67.5, 67.7, 68, and 68.2. Those are the charges. We should hit the speeds that we're hoping to get out of the rifle in that ranges. So getting some 5-shot groups just to see how they group. Seating to the same cartridge base to ogive as the previous test based on that new jam node, sitting 10 thou off the lands. So we'll get to priming, get throwing some powder, and when we get to the range, we'll see how they shoot. So we are back from American Shooting Centers and recapping what happened out there. So let's start off with the setup. So it wasn't exactly super comfortable on that range. Had a braked probably 300 Win Mag, a bay away from me, just blasting me every time he shot, which wasn't fun. The audio out there is pretty much non-existent due to the loud rifle shots going out there, so not going to cut in any footage from that. Recorded everything, but nothing really usable out of that. What was usable out of that was just seeing my setup on each shot. So amongst the groups, I'll toss up a photo, but there was a lot of vertical stringing. And so I was trying to figure out if it's me, the rifle, the load, what was really causing that inconsistency. Looking back at the footage, I'm switching between both eyes open, one eye closed. The clear gases I had were scratched up, so I'm trying to find the window and all that stuff. just wasn't super comfortable, which, you know, happens. None of the groups were bad. They were all, I believe, sub 3/4 MOA. So good performance, but there was just tons of vertical amongst the groups. The rear bags that I was using were pretty big and bulky sandbags, which was nice because they were heavy, you can sink into it, but where I wanted to put them on the rifle was further forward, but when I did that, it interfered with my grip position, but when I scooted them back, then it was interfering with my shoulder seating position on the rifle, so wasn't super comfortable, but had pretty good performance. We'll make a mental note next time, really to make sure that we're comfortable behind it, really driving the rifle, so we can have the rifle perform the way it can, and the rounds themselves. Beyond the setup, the head spacing that we did, making sure that we were bumping back to shoulder tooth foul, worked phenomenal. We didn't have any rounds that were difficult to seat, which is great news, meaning that, you know, potentially there's some upside on jam back to the original measurement that we found, but we're shooting pretty accurate here, so we're gonna run with it now. The next step will be changing up our seating depth, start bumping out back in 3 thou increments to probably about 20 thou off the lands, 22 thou off the lands, and seeing how it also affects the standard deviation and velocity from the rifle itself. Overall, it was a successful day. We found out that 67.5 is probably where we're going to start shooting the powder charges. We know we can go up from there, but in terms of velocity, those 68 and 68.2 didn't really see a lot of jump, and we saw the standard deviation start to open up. But we hit our speed test that we were hoping to be above 2850. These rounds are getting us 2862. So we're accomplishing that goal. We're getting a sub double digit SD. So we're really checking the boxes on 67.5. So we'll load up 67.5 across those different cartridge-based ogive measurements and see how they perform in our hopefully final trip out to the range in the next video. So appreciate everybody tuning in. Until the next one, stay safe and shoot straight.